Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm back to my original setting. As you can see, I came back from Switzerland some time ago, and today I'm finally ready for part 2 of our little lore analysis on version 4.7. If you just happen to stumble across this and are wondering what is this, I am an archaeologist and Genshin player who recently started doing some videos on real-life historical references in Genshin, and this time I tried to do something a little bit different. So what I'm trying to do is breaking down all of the names we got dropped in the new version, so bedtime stories. If you haven't played the quest yet, please do not watch this, of course, because as you can guess, there will be huge spoilers ahead. As always, if you happen to like this content, or if you think you might like it or dislike it, why not? Leave me a comment, leave me a like, subscribe, why not? Share this with whoever you want. And you can also follow me on HoYoLab. You will find a link in the description. As you might have guessed, today we're going to talk some more about the 5 Sinners of Canria. Last time we delved a little bit behind the name Rhinedottir. We saw how he might be connected with Odin, and specifically to the myth of how Odin obtained the runes from the Yggdrasil. Today we are going to talk about 2 more, so Rhinedottir on one hand and Rerir on the other. If you happen to have missed my first video, you can find it here. And for today, I guess the first question that might go through your head is, why am I pairing Rhinedottir and Rerir of all sinners? I mean, there should be no logical reason, surely. I've been trying to find a common theme that would link all 5 sinners for a while now, and I'm pretty proud to say that I succeeded. There is in fact one big underlying theme that I will develop towards the end of this video, and some more of course in part 3 and also in part 4, since there will be a part 4 where we will try to draw some conclusions, and or at least for some hypotheses for what this could mean for the game, how this Archon quest could end because of this. But for now, let's go back to Rerir and Rhinedottir, and they're both linked to a very particular interpretation of this core theme that can also be understood as kind of a prologue to the same theme. And I'm talking about Richard Wagner, Der Ring des Nibelungen, or Ring Cycle for short. So, first of all, what is the Ring Cycle? The Ring Cycle is a series of 4 operas written by composer Richard Wagner and loosely based on German and Norse mythology. We talked about how they are more or less the same, and I got it here, I'll show you. So this is the ring, and the 4 operas are Das Rheingold, the Gold of the Rhine, Die Valkyrie, Siegfried, that's just the name of the protagonist, and Götterdämmerung, the Twilight of the Gods. And it took Wagner a hell of a lot of time to complete, because he started writing it in 1848 and he completed the Götterdämmerung only in 1874. It's almost 30 years of work, but there's a very good reason for that, because he was so obsessed with the idea of creating this new epic cycle for his own generation that he ended up writing absolutely everything, not just the music. He wrote the text, he set the scenes, he created new instruments, and he went so far as creating his own personal festival that is still held today. That's the Bayreuth Festival, just so he could perform this cycle. I mean, that's quite the achievement if you ask me. It's the 19th century we're talking about. He didn't have YouTube, did he? But anyway, back to how all of this is actually linked to Genshin. Turns out that both Rerir and Rhinedottir are linked to the two main themes in the ring cycle, namely the ring and Siegfried. So, starting with the ring, the story in Wagner's cycle is quite simple. So, the ring is made from the gold that the daughters of the Rhine guarded. And seeing as Rhinedottir literally means daughter of the Rhine, you see in this case the connection is quite direct and simple, and in fact a lot of people already saw that coming. I've seen less people notice what happens right next, namely that the gold gets stolen but by a dwarf named Alberich. I don't know what to say, guys. They are always in the middle of everything. No wonder they end up like they do. Anyway, and I guess that Genshin clearly didn't like the dwarf part because, yeah, I mean, clearly not the case. But anyway, once he steals the gold from the daughters of the Rhine, he forges this ring of power that gives him the power to rule over his kind, so the dwarves, and everything goes well for a while, at least for him, until the ring gets stolen by two gods, namely Loki and Odin. And as you can imagine, Alberich wasn't that much happy about losing his treasures, so what he does next? He curses the ring with the following curse that I'm going to cite directly from the Rheingold. These are the words, so: Wer ihn besitzt, den sehe die Sorge, und wer ihn nicht hat, den nage der Neid. It's a bit longer than that in the opera, but anyway, that's it. That is the core part, and it translates roughly to him whom possesses the ring will be consumed by care, and him who doesn't, so him who doesn't possess the ring will be consumed by envy. And if it starts to ring familiar, speaking of a ring, it does. Basically, at this point, if you want to imagine Alberich or any other character in the ring cycle, for that matter, as Gollum, it's pretty close. Yes, it is. And just like in The Lord of the Rings, until Alberich ring is returned to the Daughters of the Rhine, so to its original guardians, it will basically sow death and destruction wherever it goes. So that's basically everything on Rhinedottir. The connection, as I said, is quite simple. Just a note that our title gold also could be a reference to the gold of the Rhine, of the river Rhine. But you'll see about that, because there's also another reason why she is called Gold, and it has nothing to do with the ring cycle. But anyway, let's shift our attention back to Rerir for a second, shall we? So, as I told you, Rerir is linked to the other main theme in the ring cycle, and that is Siegfried. So, who is Siegfried? Siegfried is the main hero in the ring cycle. He's should be the chosen champion, chosen by Odin, in order to save the world from impending destruction. And he was chosen for two main reasons. One is he is apparently immune to the ring curse, and the other is he supposedly knows no fear. He doesn't have the concept of fear. But I can hear you already. Come on, what does Rerir have to do with Siegfried? I mean, they're not the same, are they? Are they? The answer is clearly no, they're not the same. But if we have a look at the material that Wagner actually used for his opera, we might get a few surprises. So the specific saga that Wagner used for Siegfried is called the Bolsungar saga. And it basically recounts the rise and fall of a dynasty that ruled in the southeastern part of France in the region called Burgundy. And there are multiple versions of this saga that were more or less widespread in the different regions of what was the Viking space, or the Germanic space if you want. So there's one version that is more focused on actual history, or almost actual history, that was more popular in southern Germany, and a more mythical version that leans more towards actual magical elements, like, I don't know, magic swords, gods intervening here and there, and magical rings and so on, that became especially popular in Scandinavia and was written down in Norse. And it's actually this one that Wagner chose as reference for his Siegfried. So here is the family tree of the Volsung. Starting at the bottom, we can see Siegfried, or rather Sigurd, as it gets called in the Norse version of the saga. And going up, we see Sigmund, his father, and then Volsung, the one after whom the whole dynasty takes its name. And going up, we see finally a familiar name, that's Rerir. Going higher still, the founder of the dynasty is actually Siggy. And at this point, I should expect Sulnari. Why is that? Because based on what Rerir's title is in the game, we have Rächer of Sulnari, right? So Rächer is a German word that actually means avenger. And the story in the Volsung saga goes as follows. So Siggy was actually one of the sons of Odin, and he becomes a very powerful king in his own time, until the day he gets betrayed by his wife's brother, so his brothers-in-law. The year passed, and in the end, he gets avenged by his son Rerir, who kills his own uncles and becomes the new king. So I have no idea why Genshin didn't just put Siggy and called Rerir Rächer of Siggy. I can try and guess there was maybe somewhere a copyright thing somewhere, but really I don't know. I tried to look into Sulnari as a name, and it really didn't yield anything significant. So if you ask me, the best interpretation is that Rerir is actually a roundabout way to reference Siegfried. And speaking of Siegfried again, how does the rest of the ring cycle story go? Because, you know, we maybe might get some hints about the rest of Genshin's story from there, can we? We actually got a ring in Genshin also, you know. Remember, Dean's life had one when he escaped from Canria, Zubain told us, and we talked about that in my previous video. And he actually asked the blacksmith in Mondstadt, who's called Wagner, by the way, for some very strange and specific forging materials in the very first quest in which we get to know him. So maybe if we look a bit more into how the ring cycle ends, we might get some hints for the future, who knows? And let's just say that I really, really hope they didn't take many hints from the end of the ring cycle, because although everything should be fine, it really isn't. So Odin was convinced and is convinced by the third act of the Siegfried that everything will be fine, that Siegfried is the man, that he will rescue the world, and all that Odin has left to do is basically to wait for the Ragnarok to pass in peace. He's so happy, in fact, that in the next scene he actually reveals itself to Siegfried, and I guess he was hoping for some sort of recognition or something, but things really don't go like that, because Siegfried is so arrogant, has no fear, absolutely no fears, to the point where he's essentially a POS. He throws Odin out of the way, he insults him, and the whole scene ends up in a duel where Siegfried ends up shattering Odin's spear, Odin's signature weapon. Oh my god, just think about it. I would love to see something like an Odin spear on the weapon banner. Who knows, maybe in Canria chapter. So, with Odin's spear being shattered, it's basically the power of the gods that dies with that. And all that's left is the power of mankind, and it should be enough. Don't get me wrong, it should be enough, only it isn't. Why? Because in the last opera, the Götterdämmerung, two more events unfold. And the first one, well, Siegfried refuses point blank to give the ring back to the daughters of the Rhine, and not because he's under the curse, mark my words, it's not because he's greedy, it's just because he's so arrogant that he doesn't want anyone to have his own way with him. And after that, there is actually one character that manages to get the best of him, and that's Alberichson Hagen. He, of course, wants the ring back, because basically it was his father who bought the ring, so he feels like he should reclaim it for himself. And he uses poison to murder Siegfried and takes the ring. But his own success is very short-lived as well. Because shortly after that, he ends up drowning himself in the river Rhine, and the ring goes finally back to his rightful owner, so the river Rhine. But with that, the gods have no power left, because Siegfried shattered Odin's spear and Odin's power, and mankind has no savior left, because Siegfried is dead. All that's left is the Ragnarok impending, and that's why I say the ring cycle is basically a giant prologue to the Ragnarok. And with that, you start to wonder, is Ragnarok what they're getting at? Is Ragnarok the core theme that links all 5 sinners? What about Vedfolnir? What about Surtalogi? And if that's really the case, what could it mean for Tibet? Because there will be consequences, won't there? But I guess we will address all of these questions in the next video. So that's the end for today. As always, let me know your thoughts. See you very soon, guys. I'm trying to work out to bring the next 2 parts to you as soon as possible.